everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another video. Have you noticed the change to the Sussex PR game? We've seen another shift. Have you spotted it? Will it work? Shortly after Spare came out, we heard a lot of rumblings that Camp Sussex were done with the drama that they started. That they'd moved on and were looking to the future. There were even snooty press releases about how the Meg is just living her life focused on the future. Then Omid put a kink in that hose by releasing Endgame and all the shady shenanigans that came with that, and it was painfully obvious that the Meg was his source. Around that same time, late last year, we saw a shift to the Sussex PR strategy. Pictures of appearances were released shortly after the events, seemingly leaked rather than blatant, obvious announcements that they had been doing previously. It went from, hey, everybody, we're going to be going to this event and look important and release curated photos immediately, to instead something that looked more like a leak, like an accidental leak. The first approach wasn't just amateurish, but it also didn't go over well. The Markles probably realized that it gave the public and the commentators a little too much time to critique it, to ask questions. The optics were affected by the valid criticisms that they were getting. Take, for example, World Mental Health Day. I'll link that video for you here. Because they were so eager to announce it, people were paying attention and were ready to release their reports on it and comment on it. The backlash was huge and immediate because her outfit was insensitive and inappropriate, because people had already found out that they were piggybacking off of an established group, and its optics were that the Sussexes were exploiting these parents' tragedies for their own PR gain. To use Harold's own phrase from Spare, the Sussexes were sacrificing the family's heartbreak on their own personal PR altar. The drama. But in all reality, that's how it looked. So instead of the headlines being dominated the positives or the spin that the Sussexes thought would come from this appearance, the headlines were instead dominated with the controversy surrounding the event, even down to the fact that the Sussexes hilariously and irrationally took a convoy of 7 SUVs around the block rather than just walking a few doors down the block from their hotel to enter the event. And that's just one example. It happened a lot of other times too. So their new approach that they are trying lately is they attend an event and they do not announce it ahead of time to the public. They still take carefully curated pictures and then they leak the pictures afterwards. At least 24 hours afterwards is the typical pattern. Sometimes quite a little bit afterwards. Now you might ask, what if it is an actual leak? What if this is a legitimate leak? Well, Harold and the Meg made real big stinks about leaking. They would never. They're not the leakers. Oh, no. It's everyone else, remember? Except that many of the things that have been leaked could only have come from Harry and Meghan themselves. They don't seem to inspire much loyalty from their staff, so it would be impractical to think that coincidentally someone else is leaking these things in an attempt to put a positive spin on them. If they had disgruntled staff leaking things behind their back, it would likely be something negative, not something positive. So that means they are Sussex leaks. But by leaking the pictures and information after the event, it allows them to appear in the media like they were not looking for any publicity. Like they were doing these things just out of the goodness of their heart, and they were not trying to get it in the news. Which leads me to this next appearance/leak from the Meg. A few weeks after she visited a children's hospital to do a picture book reading, photos were leaked online. Now let me just say, it is a good thing to go and do something nice for those families. And a story time is a lovely thing for those children. It's wonderful. What's rubbing people the wrong way, I'm just speaking about the reaction the public has had to this particular leak. What's rubbing the public the wrong way is that it did get leaked. Weirdly, about 3 weeks later. With a positive spin focused on the Meg, that seemed weird and out of place. That she was using her acting skills and doing like such an incredible job rather than on the families or the organization itself, which leads people to the logical conclusion that she is using this for personal image gain. It would appear that either she had hoped someone else would leak it and they didn't, so she had to, because if she had sat on it for too long, then it would have been stale and the news agencies might not have picked it up, or that she sat on it on purpose to release at a specific time. More on that in a moment. For example, she did this visit and had assumed that some of the families would probably post it online by now, and that it would have been picked up by the news agencies. Is the Meg, after all. How could they not put it out on social media? But none of the families had up until this point. You know, they had other priorities, like worrying about their children and the like. So the Meg had to leak it, because if it went longer than 2 to 3 weeks, it would have been old news. Nobody really would have run with it. The alternative possibility here is that she was likely hanging on to it to release in case Catherine, the Princess of Wales, made any sort of appearance on Easter. The Meg had this in her pocket, poised and ready to leak as soon as the Waleses had any sort of an event, announcement, statement, picture shared, post on Instagram, or appearance on Easter weekend of any sort. And they didn't. So a couple of days later, the Meg went ahead and put it out because Easter had passed. She didn't need to save it any longer. This is a really well-established pattern with the Meg. This is something that she does really, really regularly. So much so that it's obvious, blatantly timing her things along the same days or same moments that anything the Waleses are doing. Remember, American Riviera Orchard Montecito was released or announced literally a couple hours before Prince William took the stage to honor his late mother. So this is a surprise to exactly no one. The fact that they didn't post anything or have any appearances or sightings over Easter weekend meant the Meg was free to leak it. But regardless, this post-event leakage strategy serves her really, really well because it minimizes commentators saying that she's just doing this, that, or the other thing for PR to get good press. And I do think that it's actually helping her to some degree. With the press thirsty for some sort of reunion or happy ending of the family rallying together around the health issues in the royal family or something of that nature, there has been a softening to Harry and Meghan recently in the headlines. Also in part because people are shocked and saddened for Catherine and the king. There's a different lens on everything at the moment, and the appetite for drama around the Sussexes is low. But this capitalizes on any softening towards her by making it seem like she's not trying to get good press stories when in all reality, she is. She's just trying to be sneaky about it and leak it after the fact. There is another side to this though. We have all discussed about what Harry and Meghan should be doing right now. They should be staying out of the limelight and not informing the press of their whereabouts and just doing some good work. Doing charitable work without notifying the press, building relationships, doing some good like they've preached is exactly what they should be doing. And they're at least appearing to do just that. By way of doing this post-event leak, they're making it seem like that's exactly what they are doing. And in doing so, it will inevitably help their image to some degree with some people. We've seen Harry and Meghan make a lot of short-sighted choices. Things like Oprah, various interviews for Spare, press releases, even their Megxit announcement was hot-headed and short-sighted. Perhaps they've become desperate enough to consider the long game here, distancing themselves from their previous campaign against the royal family and frequently reminding people that they are the ones done with the drama, though that contradicts their actions completely. And trying out this softer PR strategy, they are creating a less divisive image for themselves. They will be able to move slowly away from being viewed as combative, whiny, petty, and mean. I'm not confident they can keep this up for very long, but if they've been told that it's the only way to survive or the only way to keep their Hollywood dreams or aspirations or goals alive, they may just be willing to do it. Remember, these are the people who lied repeatedly on TV, in books, and in print, and in interviews about their own families to try to make money and try to win over some sort of public support via victim narrative. So who's to say they can't do this to grow their popularity and approval ratings? It seems they'll do just about anything to try to get their way. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. The discussion should be interesting. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video, and I hope you have a very happy day ahead. I'll see you next time. Bye!